Sri Lanka's most powerful news brand.
We're coming to you live from the Newsfirst studios right here in Colombo. A very good evening and welcome to Primetime News on Newsfirst. I'm Mahina Bongzel.
Hello there, very good evening. I'm Joel Outschool. Let's start off with a look at tonight's headlines.
Strong reminder to party representatives of election laws by Elections Commission. Government medical officers warn of yet another strike. MP Dinesh Gunawardena claims country is facing an economic crisis and calls for parliamentary sitting. Farmers continue to suffer over fertilizer scarcity. Citronella farmers in dire straits over falling prices.
First up, to look at your developing story for tonight. A special discussion on the local government elections took place today. The meeting was presided over by the chairman of the National Elections Commission, Mahinda Deshapriya.
Political party secretaries, representatives and the police were among those present for this discussion.
There were many restrictions. Instructions were given for a polythene-free election with minimum posters. The chairman of the Elections Commission informed us about it today. We will inform all our candidates about this decision. We will do our best. But we have around 8,000 candidates from various levels. The candidates face an issue. There appears to be too many regulations. However, we will respect the decisions taken by the Elections Commission. No, we have not reached any decision for any merger. They can obtain the membership of the SLFP or the UPFA. There is no discussion about a merger.
A political party can have only one official officer per electorate. An agreement was reached to completely stop the operations of the Samurdhi organizations during this period. There were reports Samurdhi officers are working in favor of candidates. It was made clear if a Samurdhi officer or public officer works for a candidate, they will be strictly dealt with. Agrarian assistants also fall into this category. The issue we have is this. When these instructions are enforced by the police, they do it in a way that favors the main political parties. We request the law be enforced equally among all. The Commission said it is inquiring into report of some political parties deploying ruffians and thugs. The manner in which political parties use cutouts and posters was discussed. We hope these instructions will be enforced properly. We discussed how political parties must work together and support the Elections Commission to hold this election. We also discussed restrictions on party officers and posters. Several agreements were reached to have a peaceful election. 65 complaints relating to the elections were reported during the period that concluded at 6 this evening. 8 suspects have been arrested and are released on bail. Among them are 2 candidates. During this period, police conducted 12 raids. 29 suspects were arrested and 5 people have been remanded. Police have been given the power to enforce the law on such people and also to remove all illegal posters. Anura Kumara Dissanayake, the leader of the JVP, criticized Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe at a meeting in Kuliapitiya.
Politics is the most profitable enterprise in the country. SB Dissanayake used to work for a non-governmental organization in Nikavarattiya. What happened after he came into politics? He has property in Hanguranketha and Colombo, while his children are in Australia, and he has a profitable business as well. Mahinda Nanda Alutgamage was an agent of the Sri Lanka Insurance Corporation in Kuliapitiya. Thereafter he entered politics. Now he owns properties in Kinsey Road, Boralla, Navala, Kandy, Navalapitiya and in England. He has 2 outlets in the airport and his children study in America. Politics is profitable for him. Then we have Piyasena Gamage from Gaul. People in Peradeniya used to call him Kanta Piyasena. He owned a Kanta truck used to transport goods. Now he owns tea estates, rubber estates, properties in Colombo. Politics is profitable for him. Johnson Fernando was with Ranil Wickremesinghe before he defected to the previous government. His business had collapsed and he was in debt. He joined the then government and 2 years later he campaigned in the northwest and fed the entire area. Politics is a business. Keep that in mind. Your politics was based on these businessmen. People are fed up of politics. This is not because politics is a bad thing, but because people engage in bad politics.
The joint opposition criticized the United National Party at a media briefing today.
In 45 days, the people will be given an opportunity to save this country from the state of defeat it is in because of the contradictory decisions made by a handful of leaders. If we take an example, it's like the Sri Lankan cricket team. There are 5 captains for 2.5 years. There are 4 coaches. I'm not reprimanding the players. The minister in charge is not aware of the decisions made by Sri Lanka cricket. Teams go overseas without the consent of the ministers. This is outrageous. A similar situation is evident in governance. There are 6 leaders who make the decisions. The constitution says the president is the head of state and the prime minister is the head of parliament. But decisions are made by 6 to 7 people. The government is suffering from the same fate of the cricket team. In parliament, it is Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe and the UNP government. We are protected in the village where we will defeat the UNP. What is happening is political profanity. If the merger continues even after the 1st of January, our friends in the Sri Lanka Freedom Party will have to change their name to Naked with the Thieves.
Horu samaga heluwen කියලා.
අපේ මූල්‍ය අර්බුදය උත්සන්න වී තිබෙන.
One reason for the economy to worsen by the minute is a large number of finance companies are going bankrupt. They are about to be served with letters of termination. Investors and customers who trade hundreds of thousands of rupees are inconvenienced through this. The joint opposition has decided to request the Speaker to immediately call for a parliamentary sitting to discuss the worsening monetary situation in the country. There is no solution even though Cabinet convenes. There is no point in having a finance minister. Monetary power lies with Parliament. Therefore, we request for an immediate sitting of Parliament.
Today, Honorable Dinesh Gunawardene has just got up from his sleep. He wants the Parliament summoned immediately. For what reason? That there is a crisis, financial crisis in the country. I was surprised to see this message from Dinesh Gunawardene. He was a cabinet minister in the Rajapaksa regiment when they robbed the country. He was also part and parcel of this. What did he do? What did he do when Sirasa was attacked? Was Parliament summoned? What did he do when Lasantha was killed? Was Parliament summoned? What did he do when Tajuddin was murdered? Was Parliament summoned? When the harbour was built in Hambantota, when the airport was built, where was Dinesh Gunawardene? There was the crisis. From there this crisis started. Today we are unable to manage the economy only because of the fault that Dinesh Gunawardene's cabinet and Mahinda Rajapaksa's government, all the wrongdoing has been accumulated and put on this government, the good governance government.
Good evening to you. On Action TV today, we are going to talk to you about the Foreign Employment Bureau. Now, we all know that the people who travel overseas and work as migrant workers are the main contributors to our country's economy. Before they travel overseas to find jobs, they have to get a registration at the Foreign Employment Bureau. Now, these individuals have 2 systems of getting these jobs before they travel overseas. They can go to an agency and obtain a registration, and they can also receive these jobs through a direct means, so that they can methods like using Facebook and through relatives. But if you look at the registration costs that are paid by these people, that is the income the government receives as an income to work as taxes. They are the income that the government receives. Now, as we go along, if you go to the government registration through an agency, 70% of the income that comes to the government is obtained by that agency, and only 30% of the income is given to the government. But if you come and register, or if you find a job overseas directly rather than going through an agency, 100% of that income is obtained by the government. Now, when the government came into power in the year 2015, the government appointed a special committee to look into the malpractices that occurred around the Foreign Employment Bureau and around people going abroad to work and bring an income to our country. What has happened to that report, we do not know as yet. But what we are receiving through the information that we are now receiving, we can see that maybe The government sought a method to actually do a study as to how the previous government did their corruption, and they are trying to maybe do it again without getting caught through the information that they received. Why we are telling this is simple. Now we are going to talk to you about the corruption that we are seeing at the Foreign Employment Bureau. If a person goes to the Foreign Employment Bureau and says, I want to register to go overseas and work, and I have found it through a direct method, I have found it through Facebook, I have found it through a relative, what the government or the Foreign Employment Bureau should do is to register that person and receive the profit 100% from that individual and keep it with them. Instead, what does the Foreign Employment Bureau do? It directs this individual, he or she, to an agency and asks them to come through that particular agency. What happens? The income gets divided, 30% to the bureau and 70% to this person in charge. Now, the agency. Now, when this happens, this has been happening from 2015, it has happened before, but a special report was compiled for this purpose. The Foreign Employment Bureau individuals were brought before this special committee and they had to provide facts. The people working at agencies, different individuals were brought before a committee by the Foreign Employment Bureau, the committee appointed, and they asked for the details. Now, in that report, they very clearly say that the loss incurred to the government as a result of this formula, this technique being adhered by the Foreign Employment Bureau stands at a staggering 123 million rupees. 123 million rupees lost to the country because of the ad hoc decisions taken by the Foreign Employment Bureau. Now, when I told you that people had come before the committee appointed by this Foreign Employment Bureau to carry out various, provide various facts, but the results, the recommendations of the Foreign Employment Committee that was set up are very clear. Several high-ranking officials at the Foreign Employment Bureau have been implicated, have been named in this report and have been asked to take legal action. But now when you take a look at the Minister in charge of Foreign Employment, she is also the Minister in charge of Justice. Has justice been meted out to these people who have been defrauding 123 million rupees from our economy, 123 million rupees belonging to you and me? No. That is the answer. This is the Action TV expose. We'll have more details for you in the coming days. Back to the studio.
In news from the President's Diary this evening, President Maithripala Sirisena has instructed to appoint a special committee to look into the professional issues of regional news correspondents and submit recommendations to address these issues.
The President had a special meeting at the Presidential Secretariat regarding professional issues of regional media correspondence. The new committee will comprise of the Director General of the Government Information Department, an additional secretary to the Ministry of Mass Media and Commissioner General of Labour. The President had called for the report of this committee to be submitted to him within 3 months. During this meeting, special attention was drawn regarding the salaries and allowances given to the regional news correspondents and also paid attention regarding the other difficulties faced by them in news reporting. It was also discussed in detail about the facts included in the letter presented to the President at the 6th Convention of the Media Employees Trade Union Federation.
The Government Medical Officers Association has announced it will launch a countrywide strike again early next year. Newsfirst takes a look at the reason put forward by the GMOA for launching another strike.
During the elections, the government promised to increase the wages of all public servants by 10,000 rupees except for the doctors in the health ministry. The budget has done away with all tax relief and concessions given to these doctors for their extra services. If SITAM is not abolished by the 31st of December, we will have to resort to more strict action after the 1st of January next year. We will have no alternative if the Secretary to the Ministry of Health fails to produce the recommendations on amending the allowances. If we are not called for talks to solve the issue, we will be compelled to launch an island-wide strike action after the 10th of January. A solution is always given to the SITAM issue, and the GMOA always rejects that. They said the recommendations made by Dr. Harsha De Silva were good and there were no issues. Now they want SITAM completely abolished. They want a solution every time they reject one. They need to have a plan in place. These people are jealous and enraged. They don't want these children to be educated. How many working days have these strikes consumed and wasted? The GMOA must take responsibility for that. The issue is not not about the salary. A draft to amend the medical ordinance was presented to Cabinet and it was gazetted as a bill. This creates a register of all specialist doctors. This makes sure that an ordinary doctor cannot engage in operations or surgeries. It was the Government Medical Officers Association who started with that register. A book titled The Establishment of Specialists was also published. There was a fake document on that as well. They want to legalize what is mentioned in the fake document. Everyone would love to see their salaries increase. They are showing an issue related to salaries and diverting the damage caused to doctors.
This is what they always do. The people have to face difficulties because of that. When will this come to an end? If this trend continues, the people will always have to waste time. We come to the general hospital because we cannot afford to pay for medicine, but they find a small issue and launch a strike. I ask the government to be firm and solve this through dialogue. What is the meaning of this if you are always burdening the people?
Such people should have never become doctors. Quoting Central Bank data, the Sunday Times newspaper recently published a report citing an overall 104,327 man-days were squandered in 41 strikes, the worst tally since 2007. During the recent past, strikes were launched against SITEM, the restructuring of government institutions, as well as government policy decisions on international accords. In addition, trade unions affiliated to medicine, nursing, power and energy, railways, petroleum and survey staged strike actions citing various demands.
Employees of Leader publications of the Sunday Leader newspaper filed a complaint with the Department of Labour, claiming they were terminated from service without any prior notice.
The offices of the Sunday Leader newspaper located in Wat Malana have been closed down since the 29th of November 2017. Over 50 employees worked here and the establishment comprised of 2 directors. The employees say they filed a complaint with the Mount Lavinia police in this regard as well. They allege the institution had failed to pay their EPF and ETF for over 5 years and did not pay their salaries for the past 2 months. In addition, they claim the 2 directors had sold off an 80-perch land owned by the institution for more than 90 million rupees. However, the sum is yet to be credited to the account of the publication. We worked here for 24 years. Finally, they put us out without even paying our EPF, ETF and gratuity. They owe us our salaries. We are helpless right now. All the employees have been terminated. The new administration is making these people feel helpless. We are seeking justice. When we worked with the late Lasantha Wickrematunge, this institution performed well. The group led by Asanga Senviratna, who joined around 6 years ago, started to face obstacles when operating this. We were terminated without notice. We were not given any salaries or allowances. We raised this newspaper together with the late Lasantha Wickrematunge, shedding our blood, sweat and tears. But changes in the recent past led to its downfall. Another reason is the inefficiency of the administration. They sold off the shares and earned a lot of money, but the employees got nothing. We are extremely disappointed, but we hope justice will be meted out.
A media briefing was held in Colombo today to inform depositors and the media regarding a financial fraud alleged to have been committed at the City Finance Company.
According to this, transfers worth 1.6 billion rupees have been made to accounts in 2009, although the City Finance Company was non-existent at the time. The company was known as Industrial Finance at that time. Another company titled CIF Asset Management was formed and 1.6 billion rupees was transferred from this company to Industrial Finance. Land belonging to Deepthi Pereira were evaluated to 1.2 billion rupees which were transferred to this company. The company was handed over to a person by the name of Upul D'Souza in 2010. Then in 2011, the company was handed over by the central bank to a person by the name of Dinesh Hettiarachchi. The central bank should have checked whether this handover was fit and proper. Shouldn't the central bank do a check on the person before handing over the company? Where is the law in this country? The accounts indicate the presence of fraudulent assets. Therefore, it is essential to conduct an extensive investigation to uncover the truth. There is a failure in the central bank's supervision. But that is not an excuse. All of you present here deposit your money in financial institutions based on the certification provided by the central bank to these institutions. The central bank is vested with the responsibility to conduct proper investigations into these institutions and provide the necessary assurance to the depositors. However, I see the central bank has failed in its responsibility. This is disappointing because state institutions are maintained with public funds. The officials are responsible to act in a credible and proper manner.
The troubled Sri Lankan Airlines has been thrown a lifeline as the cabinet approved a $175 million loan from Credit Suisse. In a SLFP media briefing yesterday, State Minister of Public Enterprise Development Lakshman Yappa then announced the cabinet decision, saying the loan will be used to ease the crisis situation. He added that President Maithripala Sirisena has decided to appoint a presidential commission to probe the internal issues which resulted in the financial crisis of Mihinia and Sri Lankan Airlines. The minister stated that the phenomenal losses in the region of 40 billion rupees is mainly due to mismanagement.
In more local news, over the past few days, Newsfirst has been reporting about the plight of the farmers who are struggling over the deepening fertilizer crisis. They are yet to receive a permanent solution to their woes.
The Agrarian Services Centre in Lanka, Pulastigama Polonnaruwa had received around 500 sacks of fertilizer. A large group of farmers arrived to collect fertilizer when tensions broke out between the farmers and officials at the Agrarian Services Centre.
The fertilizer is over when the queue is halfway through, and now we have to come again tomorrow. We have to cultivate for a long time and stand in queues for 2 to 3 days.
We have been waiting here with our IDs since yesterday, but we have not got the fertilizer. What is this government doing? It is our fault for giving them power to establish a government.
Some of the farmers who had arrived to collect fertilizer had to leave empty-handed. The chief officer at the Agrarian Services Centre in Lanka, Pulastigama, said the fertilizer is distributed according to the amount they receive. Farmers in Dehiyatakandi are also in a state of despair due to the scarcity of fertilizer. They claim fertilizer is unavailable even at high prices. Our correspondent said both fertilizer warehouses of the government in Dehiyatakandi are running empty. Meanwhile, 26 sacks of fertilizer which were priced at 350 rupees by the previous government and were to be sold were seized by the police in Tissapura, Mahayangana. 2 suspects were also arrested. The suspects were produced before the Mahayangana magistrate today and were released on 2 sureties of 500,000 rupees each.
On to yet another headline-making story this evening. Now, the issues faced by citronella farmers was raised at a media briefing in Colombo.
The oil extracted from leaves and other aerial parts of the citronella plant is a commercial product of importance. Citronella oil is used as a fragrant in the cosmetic industry, soap and detergent manufacturing, polish, paint and in the insecticide industry. It is a common mosquito repellent and also used in indigenous medicine as well as in flavoring food in certain countries. Citronella is farmed across 1,065 acres of land across Sri Lanka and is most common in Hambantota and Ratnapura districts.
A bottle of citronella oil is usually sold by the farmer for around 7,500 rupees. But today farmers are not able to even sell a bottle for 1,500 rupees. When it comes to farming, the land needs to be prepared, the seeds need to be planted, the harvest needs to be reaped, and thereafter it needs to be transported and added to a boiler to extract the oil. Wages need to be paid and the farmer needs to shed his sweat. After doing all of that, the farmer is unable to sell one bottle for even 1,500 rupees. The farmers have been compelled to consume poison. The farmers put the blame on a minister in the previous regime who is still engaged in politics. This is being steered by the people like Ananda Kularatna. They have created an autonomy in this trade. We request the government to intervene in this process. The Agamage goes to the washroom from another part of his house using a chopper. He travels to his mother-in-law's house also in a chopper. All his visits utilize a helicopter. People like the Agamage do not understand this situation. I wonder if he knows how citronella oil is extracted. This is the situation we face. Well, before we wrap the news tonight, here's a reminder once again that we have a special expose on the revelations to be made on Sri Lankan Airlines. and that just follows right after the news. I'm Joel Outskun.
And I'm Mahina Bongzo. Thank you for joining us. Good night.
Good night.